Welcome back to Alice Talks Football and welcome back to your daily news roundup video. In today's video, we're going to be talking about some of the private issues that have been happening behind the scenes at Manchester United that Ten Hag has had to deal with, which you don't really have to deal with at many competently run clubs. We're going to be talking about the transfer news, Sancho to Saudi Arabia, but more importantly, more news, more reports, more rumours of Manchester United going in for Inacio and actually want to spend the money and are willing to spend the money. I know. Not the most believable, but we're going to get into it because it then links with the story we're going to get into after that about Ineos having plans to do a cash injection maybe. Ineos already got plans to potentially spend in January, and Inacio could be at the top of their list with people like Todibo. We know we want the centre-back. Fabrizio Romano's also confirmed that. And then we're going to talk about Kobbie Mainoo, his return to United, him based him out at the pivot, what's Ten Hag's potential new plan, and more. So please do hit that like button. Of course, subscribe down below if you're new. Let's get into the video. So we're going to start by talking about just the many issues that Ten Hag has had to deal with at United. One Football Give Me Sport did an article talking about Man United have had private issues that Ten Hag has been dealing with, and a lot of things that have been going on behind the scenes that haven't been given that much attention to that Ten Hag's had to deal with. So this was obviously said in the article. Journalist Ben Jacobs told Give Me Sport that some of the United squad aren't buying into Ten Hag's methods in terms of culture, in terms of the culture he's trying to create. What he means is, because Ben Jacobs said something similar on the United stand earlier today, is a lot of the players don't like Ten Hag's approach when it comes to man management and talking to them, and apparently he's not clear with his instructions, but these players seem to be the ones that aren't starting at the moment. It was also said that something clearly isn't working at Old Trafford despite Ten Hag's side picking up consecutive wins in England's top flight Fulham and Luton game. And look, we haven't been playing the best, but I actually think versus Fulham and Luton we did deserve to win those games, whereas the other wins we've had this season I don't think we have, but maybe not in Forest. It was then continued on by saying, and this was the interesting thing here that I want to dive into, it was said that Ten Hag said last week that decisions are against Manchester United, injuries are against Manchester United, and perhaps even takeover limbo is against United as well. VAR has been completely against United. We've done a segment talking about that. Injuries are completely against United. We've done so many shows talking about that. But he's had to deal with this whole takeover thing, this whole uncertainty of what's going to happen. Is his job on the line? New owners could be coming in. Massive structural changes could be happening around him. Loads of changes could be happening. He's had to deal with that and that uncertainty. And then when it wasn't Qatar, there's still a lot of uncertainty about Jim Ratcliffe. Yes, he's getting 25%. Yes, he's getting sport control. But what's he going to do with the debt? What's he going to do with the stadium? But more importantly, how long until he buys the Glazers out? Is he ever going to buy the Glazers out? And there's that uncertainty. But then they mention this. They say the Sancho situation hasn't helped. Even stripping Maguire captaincy apparently didn't go down well in many quarters, and then he gets loads of media attention for that, which is pointless. And there's just a lot going on Man United's side that has been very difficult to navigate for him. And for me, I do feel sorry for Ten Hag. He's had to deal with a lot of crap. Anthony, Greenwood, Sancho, just different things for different reasons. All this drama, fallouts, and then all the media ganging up on him, people calling him out already, rumours that he's had a fallout with Varane, and then people saying, how do you fall out with Varane, and turning on Ten Hag, but then he hasn't actually had a fallout with Varane. It's just that Varane's not playing for tactical reasons, and Varane was a bit annoyed, but it wasn't a fallout because Varane's a professional, and all of these things like how Pep Guardiola calls out Guardiola for not training hard enough. Pep doesn't get sick. Ten Hag calls out Sancho for not training hard enough. He gets sick. He gets sick. And it was said basically Sir Jim Ratcliffe has got to lead a change. They were basically saying in the article, and sort of assess Ten Hag from the inside rather than the outside, because being at United, he's had to deal with so many issues, which I want to get into. Over 20 injuries. Mourinho and Rangnick complained about the medical staff in the past, and maybe it's time to move on the medical staff. Ten Hag tried to bring in his Ajax medical team. He got denied the two people he wanted to bring in from Ajax. Mourinho and Rangnick have tried to change the medical team. That hasn't happened. Maybe Ratcliffe will do that. There's the leaks, there's the anti-Ten Hag briefs. There's more media briefs against Ten Hag than any other manager. When Man United are playing bad, it is so negative. And the interesting thing that we learned the other day is that when Man United are losing, they choose to release leaks that they've known from 6 months ago, but they'll just release it when Man United's losing to make you feel like that problem is now and all the problems are piling on. Another big problem we got is high-wage players, and we've had toxic dressing room in the past. I think he did a big job sort of fixing the dressing room environment a little bit last season, dealt with the Ronaldo situation well, but it does feel like there could be a bit of a toxic dressing room environment there. I think for the most part, most of the players back Ten Hag. I still do. I think they are playing for Ten Hag, but I think the media maybe exaggerates that the dressing room has turned on Ten Hag, and then it's obviously had to deal with Sancho, Anthony, Greenwood situations this season, and the Arnold upsetting all the staff as well. The whole takeover distraction. And you've got to remember, he never got his transfer targets. He never got De Jong. He got Casemiro, a completely different profile. We've not signed a player like De Jong. He never got Harry Kane. He never got Kim Min-jae. He never got Todibo. And yes, he's had money, but he's had to deal with a lot. And I will have sympathy for Ten Hag there. But enough of talking about Ten Hag. I want to get into the transfer news. I want to get into a lot of the news. There's a lot of stories to get through. So we'll talk about the Sancho story first because it's boring. Juventus has asked for information on Sancho in recent days. He's set to leave United in January, but Juventus are only interested in a loan deal plus part of the salary being covered by United. We're weak. We're desperate to sell Sancho. He's desperate to leave. We're going to be bent over backwards. That's why we can't need to go to Saudi. That's the only way we're getting money for him because clubs know that United are just desperate to get rid. That they will have to do a loan deal. But talking of ins, it was said by the People's Person today, and we reported on this earlier in the week or in my live stream the other day, that Manchester United are planning to restructure January bid for Goncalo Inacio. So what was said in the article was said by Correia de Manha Portugal via Team Talk that Goncalo Inacio is being eyed by Ineos chairman as the first signing of the new era, and the 20-time English champions even have a payment plan in place for the centre-back's 60 billion release clause. Do I think United are organised enough to have a payment plan in place? No. Could Ineos be organised enough to be like, this is the guy we want, we've got a payment plan in place, and they would maybe bring in him and Todibo, which would be a combined 80 million because Ten Hag wants 2 centre-backs. Potentially Ineos have thought about it, but it's very unlike United to actually have their payment plan in place. The People's Person then reported that United are in pole position should a move to England materialise as well, and that United do not find the price tag intimidating and are willing to restructure their bid. United plan to pay a guaranteed 45 million euros plus 15 million euros, which will be made of bonuses and add-ons. So that would, let's say, it's costing us about 40 million with 10 million in add-ons. Todibo is going to get us about 40 million as well. 80 million for the two of them would be pretty decent business. It was also said that the Reds are hopeful they can conclude a deal as soon as possible as they've got a good relationship with Sporting. We'll also have a good relationship with Nice if Ratcliffe comes in. I think that Inacio is a great player, but I think he's a very, very similar profile to Lisandro Martinez. I think he has the ability to play left back and defend wider areas, which we need. I think he's one of those, if Lisandro Martinez comes back from injury and he stays fit, we're not going to play him a lot. So I would probably prioritise Todibo first, see how much money we've got left over, then go for someone like Inacio. Big fan of him, like the centre-back, but he would be like 5th or 6th on my options of centre-backs. And to be honest, I don't think that United have a payment plan in place because we know Man United, they're not particularly organised. So I would take that one with a pinch of salt. But I saw a tweet by Phil here, which I thought was interesting, and I thought this is why I believe that there could be something surprising and maybe a 40-50 million deal happen in January. He said this: Ineos have known for a while that a deal is highly likely. I would be very surprised if they haven't been working for months towards identifying targets to pursue in the January market. They could easily mitigate FFP with a cash injection, and of course that has helped if they sell Sancho. United will need to buy in January. They have to finish top 4 this season, or FFP will be a major obstacle for Ineos next season. True. If we're not going to get top 4, we normally spend in January. Not that we normally spend in January, but we're more likely to spend in January. If Ten Hag is here in January, he could maybe get the backing. And I think there is a reason to believe that January transfers could happen. But I want to end up this by talking about Kobbie Mainoo. I spoke about this at the end of my live stream, but I kind of wanted to talk about it in a video because I saw a few other tweets and information. This lineup here was from our pre-season game where we beat Arsenal 2-0 and we played the best football we played all season. Obviously, Onana would come in for Heaton, Højlund would come in for Sancho, and Rashford would come in for Anthony. Those 3 obvious changes. But the Mount, Mainoo, Bruno midfield worked really well together when they played, which we've not seen a lot of them, but it did work well. And it was against Arsenal. And remember, Arsenal fielded their strongest lineup in that game, like their best 11. Maybe they had Nketiah instead of Jesus. Not that's going to make much of a difference. Arsenal fielded their best 11, and we fielded this 11, and we beat Arsenal comfortably. We looked really good. Sancho had a brilliant game, which annoys me so much that he acted like an idiot and started crying. But I looked at this and I thought, this worked really well. We know that's our best back 5 with Onana coming in for Heaton. I want to see Mount, Mainoo, Bruno. Casemiro is injured. Eriksen's injured. McTominay is just not consistent or good enough. I want to see that given a go. And then we'll bring in Højlund and we'll bring in Rashford there because that beat Arsenal 2-0 in pre-season. And I saw this tweet, which came out a little bit after I tweeted the lineup, and this was exactly what I was thinking, so I'm going to read it out. Need to see Erik Ten Hag run Mount, Mainoo, Bruno as the midfield 3 for a majority of games. A mixture of energy, athleticism, technical ability, creativity, and positional awareness. Takes us to another level, in my opinion, if they're allowed to build some consistency and develop their relationship. You need to give them a few games together so they can develop the relationship, build consistency. yeah, there are players that can play together, and it might take a couple of games. But I completely agree because Eriksen's out. Obviously, we know that Casemiro's out. You can't use McTominay card every game. It's just not sustainable enough. And look, McTominay comes up, he gets some goals here and there, but if it wasn't for the goals, McTominay wouldn't be a Man United player anymore. Do you know what I mean? And for me, I'd like Erik Ten Hag to take the risk because I like Amrabat. I wouldn't mind Amrabat going in there, but Mainoo was the guy that was playing in pre-season. All our best games in pre-season when Mainoo was fit. We were unbeaten in pre-season with Mainoo. Mainoo got injured. We lost every game since. Not saying that Mainoo's going to come in and fix everything because he's an 18-year-old midfielder, and I understand why he hasn't started or been involved in the last few games because he's just got back from injury and he doesn't need to be involved. But I think he's absolutely true. Like, we need to start giving Mainoo a go. It worked in pre-season, and I just think it's the balance that it gives. Anyway, let me know your thoughts below on that. Of course, do subscribe down below if you're new. Share the video. Thank you for watching. See you next time. I'll be back tonight. Bye.